So hi, this is Kaylin.
I'm Josh.
And so the other night we went to see Twilight during its premiere night. We didn't actually see it at its midnight showings. Those were all sold out. Not like I really wanted to see them at their midnight showings anyway. Saw them at the 2:40 showing. Dramatically a lot less people in that theater. I tend to think they were also a little bit more level-headed in there.
I would say so.
Most likely. I mean, there were people laughing at stupid moments, but at the same time, like, those couple of people who were in there who were, like, I'm pretty sure that they were, like, having conversations of their own, kind of.
I would like to hope that they were. Otherwise, what were they doing there?
They just didn't seem like a typical Twilight crowd, right?
No, which is very refreshing to see that other people went to rag on this thing early.
We came out of the theater and, like, didn't we run into a couple other people who were like, this movie sucks?
Yes, yeah, we very much did. Right after the movie let out, right at the box office, actually, there were two people arguing, I told you I wanted to come. Yeah, but you didn't tell me it was going to suck.
So I'm kind of...
Females, mind you. Females making that point, so that was refreshing.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad that there's some other level-headed people going in there on opening night. So just... I kind of knew this was coming, that I did enough research on it. As some of you know from reading my blogs and such, I'm only halfway through the first book, and that's already kind of bad enough. And I know I've had a ton of comments like, oh, I couldn't even make it that far. But I did enough research to know that, you know, books 1, 2, and 3 are, like, dramatically different from the tonality of what is in the book Breaking Dawn. And it's just dramatically noticeable presented in movie format. It's wildly different as far as tone is concerned.
You mean bad?
It's dramatically worse than the previous three movies.
That's pretty bad.
Like, so you're going to hear my cat rustling around boxes. Frankly, I don't really care unless she knocks one of them over onto the camera.
She's about to knock one of them over on the camera.
That's hilarious. In any case, so... like, the previous three movies they're bad, right? I mean, it's fantasy. Now the cat's literally knocking boxes over. They're fantasy, right? They're bad teen fantasy. Oh, teenage girl falls in love with a vampire and...
fan fiction! I'm sorry. I have an allergy.
To bad writing, I'm assuming.
Yes, very much so.
So they're bad, right? But it's the kind of bad that, like, you can set it to a riff tracks and suddenly it's funny. In fact, that's really just about the only way they can be watched is through a riff tracks. But, like, this...
That's how I had to do it.
This... it's not even... even if you were to take out the fact that it is a Twilight movie, I don't even think it's good cinematography.
Well, no, the cinematography was... it wasn't bad, it's just they had so little to work with. I mean, there's only so much you can do to make, like, since it's pretty much where they start, the wedding scene. There's only so much they can do to the wedding scene to make it look pretty, aside from the fact that it's an incredibly boring wedding.
Well, the problem is that you could tell there's just so much padding going on in that movie. Yeah. There was no need for it to be broken up into two pieces, Breaking Dawn Part 1 and Breaking Dawn Part 2. Whereas if you're sitting there watching Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, well, no, I'm not even a huge fan of Harry Potter, well, no, but they at least had material to work with.
Okay, I can say that much about stretching out Deathly Hallows into two movies, because they knew what they were doing at the outset to make this one book, which had enough material to be split into two movies.
I mean, have you seen the size of the book alone?
Yeah, exactly. There was enough to actually accentuate the little parts that they split apart into Part 1 and Part 2, and it made it a richer experience, which is why I don't mind that the ads for Deathly Hallows say, come see the event of 2010, you know, because it was an event. You know, it's displayed as such, whereas here, it felt very much like I wasn't seeing anything different in the first 30 minutes of this movie that I couldn't not see on, like, any of these wedding shows on TLC or something like that. It was the same thing.
But even then, they're trying to make a beautiful wedding, and, like, really, it's almost too soon to get into talking about what the wedding was like. because I kind of want to start from beginning and then go to the end, because, like, the beginning of the movie, it's not even, like, 20 seconds, and Jacob takes off his shirt.
It was about 10, 15 seconds, and he was just like...
Wedding invitation. So mad, I just gotta get this thing off and go out in the rain, and God, look at my pecs, I'm just soaked, and... Oh my God. Just immediately.
I mean, is that... I can understand, like, wanting to, you know, get out anger, like, oh my God, she's actually going through with it, but it's like, you know, he could have punched a wall, he could have yelled. No, he had to take his shirt off.
Do you ever do that when you get mad?
Not without doing the other parts of yelling and punching a wall, like a man.
So then, yeah, they're, like, preparing for this wedding and all, and Bella's gotta, like, practice around and stumble around in these high heels. And, like, I see what they were trying to do, because through the course of the whole saga, she's portrayed as...
Don't call it that. Just don't.
Air quotes.
Oh, even then, you know...
So she's portrayed as this incredibly clumsy, chaotic mess, and couldn't possibly wear high heels.
Bambi looked more graceful learning how to walk.
So it upsets me that, like, she tries to practice, and, like, at this point I'm like, I get it. She's clumsy, I know, we've known this whole time. And even when you get all the way up to the wedding, she still looks like a clumsy mess going down the aisle, and she's, like, clinging to her dad the entire way down, and she doesn't... I thought maybe, because they were hyping this thing up as, like, the wedding of the century as far as movies are concerned.
Yeah.
And it just... Now, maybe I'm just not your typical average female, and maybe I'm just not the target audience, but, like, I think I can have a soft spot for weddings, but this did, like, nothing for me. It was, like... The setting was beautiful, and the vampires are all strong and carrying entire redwood trees up over their shoulders.
CG redwood trees. Bad CG redwood trees.
Up over their shoulders and making their whole backyard look absolutely gorgeous. Okay, the setting was really pretty.
Well, even then...
The dress was really pretty, but it means nothing if the couple has this stone-cold look on their face.
Wait,
and then, like, I don't know.
No, your eyes are too wide for
you.
Oh,
I can't even...
Hang on, I'm gonna try.
It's something like that.
Something like that?
So, like, Edward kind of makes this kind of half-grin. He, like, makes a half-grin. He doesn't look at her like, wow, I'm seeing her for the first time in this wedding dress, and she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And, like,
well, no, he didn't look at her any different, I would say, than he looked at her in the other movies. He looked at her just the same as, yep, I got that. There was no change. There was no growth. There was no... There was nothing to it.
So, you know, they're staring at each other, and she doesn't look graceful. I thought they wanted to maybe make her look really nice and graceful for just, like, this one moment. This one perfect moment that they were hyping up this whole time, and she just looked just as derpy as she has
well,
the
not
last
even derpy. Like, I know... I've heard about, you know, you get cold feet, you know, at a wedding, but it honestly looked like she was physically ill going down that aisle. Like, you would think, like, okay, like me going into it, not knowing much, but at least knowing how a wedding scene is set up. It's like, okay, she's going to look derpy, and then she's going to see Edward, and then get this boost of confidence, and, you know, go down the aisle. No, she seemed to be just sick. Like,
she didn't even look like, she looks over at him, and she doesn't even look like, I'm about to marry this man, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with him, I am so happy. It did not look like either one of them was thinking, this is the happiest day of my life.
No, it looked like she had just had some bad seafood, and it was about to come back, and she was about to show everybody what she had for lunch that day.
But like, even before the wedding, like, right there at the beginning, and they're sending out those invitations, like, her mom gets the wedding invite, and she's like, guess what? She's so happy? Like, she doesn't know this man. She doesn't know him from Adam. And then Charlie is just over here like...
Well, it's not like he didn't see this coming.
Yeah, but I feel like like, he's the only one in the entire series of movies who, like, even slightly has a clue that there's something wrong with this picture.
Well, yeah, because, you know, he's thinking like a cop in that, yep, I should threaten him with a gun, which he does.
He somewhat does during that whole
the
reception,
toast, yeah.
the reception toast.
And those toasts were awful.
Well, even before we get to that, like, Mom and Dad show up right before the ceremony or whatever.
Right, yeah. Oh,
And
you're right.
He's standing there in front of, you know, this framed thing on the wall, and his ex-wife comes along, and he's like, are these all graduation caps?
Right.
And the mom's just like, oh, that's so clever, and she just takes off, and he's like the only one who
gets like, no, wait, these are real graduation caps. What are they doing with all these?
And then it's just like,
Screw it. Let's go to the wedding.
Kind of goes back to that, and...
But that ceremony was so, like...
What, the reception?
No, I'm talking about the actual wedding ceremony. It was as rushed as something you would see at the end of a movie, but half the emotion.
And it was right at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly, which is kind of... I would say in a certain way anticlimactic, even though I know what's supposed to come later. It's the weirdest thing to put up front.
What kind of bothers me, too, is she's got those 4 friends that she had
from the first movie.
And they're like, well, I wonder if she's showing. Like, they haven't seen her in months.
No.
And then even during the reception, they never speak to her. She never goes out of her way to speak to them. Why are they even there? Why are any of these people even there? Because nobody, save for a couple of the vampire relatives, ever stopped to talk to the couple. And, like, what kind of a realistic wedding reception is that?
Well,
like,
because it's not... When they are talking to them, they start trying to talk about something like, it was a great ceremony, but then they go right back to their vampire drama. We can't be around them because they killed such and such and so, and...
They're the only ones who even tried to talk to them, and then even then it was like, oh, well, there's this really serious undertone, and we can't have a good time. Nobody there was having a good time, save for, like, when that dance sequence started up. And then, even then, the couple leaves.
No, the couple wasn't even there for most of the reception. I mean, the way they cut it, it looks like they were never even there. And then it's just... The vows, the way they cut it was like... They got right to... I mean, yes, I understand it's a movie, but they probably could have done better with extending out the ceremony. That way we didn't have to deal with the padding we got later.
Well, it was presented in a really weird way, because it really was like, we're here to join Edward and Bella in holy matrimony.
Wait, he called her Bella, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. He called her Bella rather than her full name of Isabella, and it's like, aren't you supposed to say the legal full name?
Right, you say the legal full name when you're actually having the ceremony. It didn't make any sense, because he's supposed to be the official of the ceremony. Why are you using the nickname?
Either way, it's like, we're here to join Edward and Bella in holy matrimony. Do you, Edward, take blah blah... He, like, jumps right
straight to... It didn't make any sense. Oh, I mean, I guess it makes sense because, you know, nobody really
But that
cares,
wasn't even... It wasn't even edited. It was just... He says it and then jumps straight to the next...
Right, there wasn't even a cut there. It was just one shot straight. You know, we're here to join them. Do you, Edward? I'm like, hey, can we think about this for a second? I mean, I'd like to hear the rest of the menu before I order.
But so in any case, they get to the reception part of it, and it's like,
no, wait, what was up with the kiss though?
Well, you're right. The kiss was kind of bizarre because I see what they were trying to do in that they remove everybody from all the seats, and it just looks like it's the two of them, like nothing else matters. But they're like making out in front of this entire audience. It's like inappropriate for a wedding kiss.
Well, because they make it look like that's exactly what they're doing, and they don't care that anybody is there, which is still like, why would you do that? Because I think back to, like, say, The Wedding Singer, where they're talking about, you know, how much is too much for a wedding kiss.
That, like, appropriate amount of wedding tongue.
Exactly. This was an inappropriate amount of wedding tongue for everybody to see, especially people who obviously haven't seen you in several months, your parents. your
one
significant
parent who
other's-
has not seen you in like a year or more.
Exactly, and yet you're all there like.
But
That's what it was.
But it gets to that reception, and then it gets to that dance scene, and Edward's like, "Hey, I've got a surprise for you. Let's leave." And then
Wait,
you're like,
what kind of a surprise is this? Hey, guess what? It's the other dude you were getting ready to cheat on me with.
And of course he of course didn't show up to the wedding. So
Right.
He was all, "I'm brooding shirtless in the forest," and
Did he say he went to like Alaska or something?
I forget. He ran for
He
a very
ran.
long time.
And he ran so far away.
Yeah. So, and he comes back and he's all thrilled to see her, and I'm like, dude, she's married, hold up. And then she's like, "Hey, Jacob, Ben." I'm like, dude, you're married, hold up. And they're...
Well, like, it was okay to a point, because I almost wanted to believe they were like, okay, you both understand the circumstances now, you can just be friends, you can be chill now. No, they were... It's...
And Edward's like totally cool with it. He's like, "This is a surprise just for you because I knew this would make you happy." That's not okay.
When is it ever cool, like, I knew you would be happy with me bringing the dude you were potentially cheating on me with to our wedding reception?
You might argue that she already did cheat, what with that kiss almost directly in front of him in the previous movie.
Yeah, but that borders on, like, the setup. It's the thing that happens before porn starts. You know, make out with them, now make out with them, now make out with me. You know, it's fantasy.
Part of the whole Jacob thing kind of upsets me to an extent, because for a while, you might have almost called me on Team Jacob. Almost.
Do we have to?
If not for the fact that suddenly he says in the last movie, "Well, you know, it's okay to love two people."
No,
it's not. It's not. That's not a thing. Especially not come next movie when you're married.
No, that's not cool.
No, that's not okay. So then they're dancing by themselves in the forest away from the wedding reception.
Right.
And
mind you, nobody's questioning the fact that they're gone.
And then Bella drops the bomb that, "Oh, I'm not going to be a vampire during our honeymoon," and Jacob's just like, "What?"
Now, based off what they're about to go through, and I guess the more or less metaphor that comes up next, that's pretty much her saying, in what it amounts to, that I'm not going to use protection over the honeymoon, which is essentially what it is.
Well, no, that's not what they're bringing up. What they're bringing up is that he's about to tear her apart.
Right, but either way, it's a form of protection, because at least if she was a vampire, yeah, she'd be dead, however you define dead in Twilight World, but at least she could still be alive and talking, whereas her being a human means dead in that she's not getting back up again.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's still... Whatever she's doing is stupid and has dire consequences that she's not really worried about.
So like, there's more that I want to get into here, but I think it'll make more sense when I get a little further down in the plot of the story. So
I'm just saying right there, that's what already... Like, I don't like Bella as a character to begin with, but as far as this movie alone is concerned, this is the beginning of the setup to just how stupid she is.
No, she's particularly stupid with all of her choices, as in she didn't even think out what her choices might be. She didn't realize that there would be choices to be made.
And that'll come up, as we get to the next part.
But, so, like, off they go on their honeymoon, which is like, surprise, I'm not telling you where I'm taking you, and I'm not telling your family where I'm taking you. We're just going somewhere.
No, see, here's the thing I don't get. Half the people that ask Bella, "Where are you going?" have it in their head she's gonna die. Because nobody is happy, like, "Oh, they're gonna go somewhere nice and half the people are like, should we start making up posters?
Because most people don't really know much about Edward aside from her, and so they're like, "Man, you know what? We really don't know anything about this guy, and she's gonna go somewhere alone where nobody knows where she is with him."
Lacey Peterson. I'm sorry. Sorry, another. I have allergies. Continue.
So they go to Rio, right?
They go to Brazil. They go to Brazil.
Of course, they get there at night, and they're wearing the exact same clothes that they left the party in.
Because it totally only takes a few hours to get from Washington to Brazil.
And so then he's like, okay, I got another surprise. So we got an island, right? Like our own private island off the coast of Brazil.
What's his face?
At Carlisle. At Carlisle bought.
He bought them an island, and it was their. And it's the thing. It's
an island called Esme. An island called Esme.
No. Anyway, point being, most women when they hear. If they were to hear, my dad got us an island
he didn't get them an island.
Well, still, even if he rented out an island, that's
he owns the island. He's just letting them use
okay,
the island.
either way, that's big news. You would think you'd get a reaction out of that, but Bella's still...
Well, supposedly in the book, as far as I'm understanding, like, they are so rich that Edward, like, buys her a new car before the change, and then another one after the change. Like, they are so rich because apparently when you die, you just earn money exponentially.
Well, it's mainly because of the money you save on food.
I guess.
Well, you think about that, you know, how much do we spend on food a week, and if their food source is out in the wild, how much money are you saving?
Like, I'm wondering, though...
Not that I'm trying to defend them, I'm just saying that's where the money lies.
Doesn't this all blow either her mind or her family's mind or anything? Because they're kind of simple, like, the only thing Bella ever got handed to her was this dingy old orange truck. And she doesn't seem very rich otherwise, like...
No, because she's living at home with Charlie on a cop salary. That's not going to get very far.
It just seems like... this huge difference in social class. Like, if you wanted to make a movie about two people from completely different social classes, like, you could do so much more just with that alone, and it doesn't even get anywhere near what it could.
No.
So they go to this island where they got this house, and then...
the house with a weird revolving door.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that dumb revolving door. How do you lock that thing?
You put a brick in front of it. I don't know.
So they stand there in front of the bed for, like, ever. It's like they don't want to jump right into anything, but at the same time I'm thinking, like, what's the problem? Like, you're married now, and this is, like, all you've ever wanted, right?
Right.
And they stand there for what feels like eternity to the viewer, just kind of like, I'm so uncomfortable, it's so awkward.
And it's just... So are we doing this? Like, me as an audience member looking up at the screen like, so are we doing this or what?
But they don't.
No, not yet.
But they don't.
No, why? Because Bella decides to get nervous and she's got to go prep. And I'm like, what? Like, okay.
And it's like a weird montage sequence because Edward's all like, well, okay, let's just go swimming. She's like, okay. And then this montage scene happens of her, like, I didn't actually know what was going on at first because I couldn't tell. Like, is she getting prepared? Is she just trying to calm herself down?
No,
I couldn't tell what they were doing with it.
This is my problem with the entire honeymoon portion of the movie, which takes up a lot longer than it should.
Probably like 45 minutes before even the actual
problem occurs. We'll call it that right now.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing was that
conflict. The actual conflict.
Okay. The entire honeymoon scene, she looked nowhere near comfortable. She looked very uncomfortable, even more so than the wedding. She looked like
which is saying a lot considering that her face always looks uncomfortable.
But the only thing I could get was discomfort. Like, should I be here? What am I supposed to... There was confusion. There was discomfort. I personally didn't know what was going on. I thought she was going to, like, scream or call the cops at some point. Because it just didn't make any sense what was going on. Not during the prep scene, not during the sex scene, if you can even call it that next. Or the aftermath, I guess, the next morning. She just looks so freaking uncomfortable.
But, like, I don't get... Like, she has to go... During that whole montage of her preparing, she has to go splash water on her face. What did she shave her legs? I want to say that she shaved her legs.
She did.
Like, did he just stand out there and wait for like 20 minutes for her to shave her legs and do all of this splashing water on her face?
Well,
and
no, apparently he goes swimming.
And then go and like tear through all of her luggage, and I'm thinking, because she starts pulling out lingerie, and then she gets embarrassed because she's looking at the lingerie, and like, did you not bring a swimsuit? But then no, yes she did, because later on, a few scenes later, you see her plainly wearing a swimsuit, and they're swimming together. So instead, she decides to go out there completely naked. And I'm thinking, well then what was ever the problem this whole time? If you're just comfortable going out there in absolutely nothing.
If they're trying to show that she's finally getting comfortable in her skin, no, I was just uncomfortable watching it, because I don't think she felt comfortable. She just finally decided to say, you know what, screw it, I forgot that there's a movie going on, I need to get out there.
And so then, like, the sex scene does happen. The most you ever really see is him breaking that headboard.
And some back scratching, and then fade to black.
Wake up, and then the room is trashed, and there's feathers
the
everywhere.
room's not even trashed, it's just the bed. Now, see, this is the thing that I was thinking about, because this happens, and then she kind of sort of dreamed it?
Well, yeah, because that's really confusing, because that happens, and then they're together, and then they look in the mirror, and she's got these bruises. They don't actually seem that bad. In fact, I think they toned it down from what is portrayed in the book.
Right.
Like, she's basically supposed to have the crap beaten out of her.
Right.
It's already pretty bad, but it doesn't seem like vampire bad.
It still comes off as domestic violence bad.
Sure it does. It still seems like... This is why I was kind of thinking to myself, did it really have to be full force or nothing with him? Like, oh, I can't do this to you anymore. We just can't do it at all. And she's like, what?
Well, no, it's like, she was cool with full force or nothing. He's not cool with full force or nothing. And it's the thing, like, neither of them could compromise on that. Like, can I get a little something? Can you get a little something? Can we build up?
I'm just wondering why there was no... Was there a problem with just sweet, tender lovemaking? I'm really wondering, why would that have been so difficult? I don't understand.
Well,
did he have to hurt her? Was that really necessary?
Well, in order for there to be sweet, tender lovemaking, there had to actually be love.
Oh.
You see? Oh. Yeah, that's
the problem.
That's not here. This isn't real.
So in any case, he's like, well, we just plain can't do it at all anymore.
Well, no, see, that's what I'm thinking happened. Like, the way it looks to me is that they had that conversation during the fade to black, and when Bella said, you know, all or nothing, and Edward's like, no, what? That he just got frustrated, broke the board, and then went to go sleep somewhere else in another room, because Bella wakes up by herself in a broken bed. Or
how I was bringing it up before, that, well, supposedly the both of them have been virgins this entire time.
Oh, right.
And then, well, he just got frustrated because it just wasn't what he expected. And then, trash the room, and then it's all over.
Well, no, see, that's the thing about the conversation they have the next morning, too, because it looks like they were both trying to convince each other it wasn't that bad.
Like, no, I'm pretty sure no one's had it that good before. I'm pretty sure. It was the way she was phrasing it.
It was the thing, the phrasing and the tone in her voice reeked of, oh man, I just have to make sure I calm you down, because this isn't... No, no.
But then you're right, because you started to bring up, did this even actually happen? Because at least the first one did. And
I think.
Well, yeah, she's totally bruised and everything. That actually happens.
Well, yeah, but then there's that whole other next...
It's after that it looks like they do get intimate with each other between playing chess.
Chess and swimming.
Go figure, they show them playing chess because, guess what, it looks like the cover of the book. But then she, like, wakes up next to him after God knows how many days it's been that they've been out there, and she's like, oh, I was just having this dream, and then I was sad because I thought that maybe it wasn't real.
So when she talked, because we didn't see any dream, the only thing we've seen on screen is this montage of swimming and chess.
And a little
no
bit of
sex.
making out.
Look, slight making out, not even major. And it's the thing, like, why would you think that was... Why would you want that over what probably should have actually been going on a honeymoon?
I don't know, that confused me. But then apparently 2 weeks flies by, and they've been there that whole time, and then that's when finally it's like she's eating like a pregnant person. I wonder why, because she pulls out like
peanut butter,
the yogurt, and the chicken, and then she starts throwing up, and then she realizes, oh, missed my period, I think I'm pregnant. Can this happen? Is this possible?
Is this possible?
And it's like... And the thing is, like...
No.
And neither does Edward. That's the thing, because I think what people are thinking, and I think what they were thinking is like, well, Edward's dead, therefore so should be his seed.
Right. And see, this is going to lead into this whole other conversation about just exactly how vampire junk works in the world of Twilight. Because, okay, that would be the first thing you think. He's not dead. I mean, she's not dead. He is. But even then, he's not really not dead because of how vampires work in Twilight.
So it's like undead? But then that sounds like zombies?
But he's not a zombie because he drinks blood. He's the walking living.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so, you know, she starts calling up one of the vampire family now. Like, I think we have a problem here.
No, yeah, they start calling, and none of them know what this
Nobody
is.
knows.
It's like never in the history of vampirism
in Twilight
has any vampire ever had sex with a human being and then a pregnancy ever came out of it. Ever. And Edward himself has been a vampire a pretty long time. Carlisle's been a vampire for longer than Edward.
Right.
Carlisle's a doctor.
Right.
And nobody knows what this thing is.
Now, see, here's just basic logic. You can have two dogs of different breeds. If they get it on, you're still going to get a baby. Edward at least used to be human. That means he's got parts in him that would work on a human. If you put that in a woman and let that gestate, you've got all these graduation caps. You've taken high school biology I don't know how many times. Don't you know how this works by now?
Well, see, they were in biology together and not paying attention to biology.
Oh, what about all the other times before he met Bella? He had to pass that class.
Well, you don't know that. Maybe he failed at least 30 times.
Then how'd he get the graduation caps?
Maybe it was like Texas, where it's easy to get a graduation cap. I don't know. But it's like, even knowing that much, even if you don't know what exactly comes out of it, it's like, they didn't stop and have a discussion like normal adults in a relationship should. Like,
well, that's saying that they're normal adults.
But it's not like, well, we don't know what might happen if our reproductive organs actually try to reproduce. How about, we protect each other? How about we get protection just in case? Because even if it's something that turns out not to be a normal baby, you don't know what it is, therefore you pretty much don't really want it.
Exactly.
Right? What better reason do you have to protect yourself?
Let's just call it bare bones. Nobody did anything. It's both their faults.
Well, nobody had a discussion.
Not even nobody had a discussion, because we get into that in the next part, that there was no communication with each other about what was going to happen next. Nobody tried to take it upon themselves to be the proactive adult and decide, I'm going to use protection, I'm going to take a pill, I'm going to, put something on, I'm going to pull out. Nobody decided to do anything, and then 2 weeks later, can this happen? That's the line right there. Can this happen?
Is this possible?
Is this possible?
And nobody knows. So then...
Did you know people die when they're killed? Did you know people get pregnant when they don't use stuff to stop pregnancy? It's that same logic.
So then Edward, there's insensitivity on both of their parts, because Edward's like, we're gonna get this thing out.
Okay, alright, now here's the thing. Everybody wants to get on, and I hate that I have to do it this way, everybody gets on Edward, but like, oh, this is about, insensitivity and abortion. Yes, but it's the abortion of a freakish hell child. It's not anything you would want even in reality. Like, since when do, that even argues for the rights of vampires. Like, can vampires have abortions? Well, if you would call it that.
See, now you're getting into stuff that comes in part 2, because the Volturi are pissed that they have a baby because you're bringing, you have turned a child into a vampire.
But they didn't turn a child, she's...
But it gets into the conflict of the next movie. It's the idea that a child unwillingly, against their will, has become a vampire.
Well, no, even then it's like, you go into the basic writing of it, and it's like, okay, any other lore you've read, comics, movies, literature, vampire, human, you get a crossbreed, which is usually referred to as a dhampir, which would have all the strengths and none of the weaknesses of a vampire. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the vampires in Twilight are already practically dhampirs. They have no weaknesses. So what do you get when you cross a... Technically, if you're going off any other lore, like I said, you get dhampir with human, you get basically what would be like...
A weaker dhampir?
Basically like a quarter vampire. Now you're getting into like, oh, well, I'm a quarter Jewish, something like that. Yeah, at which point it's like, well, can we even call you that?
But like I was saying, like, Edward's, oh, we're going to get that thing out of you, and it sounds insensitive on Edward's part.
But
at the same time, Bella doesn't actually discuss it with that. If they were a couple that actually was mature and adult about things, they would sit there and have a discussion with one another about, okay, so this just came up. How about we talk about what we do about this? Are we going to keep it? Should we keep it? Is this really what we want to do?
Do we have options? Do we want somebody to adopt it? I mean, can we send it to the circus? Maybe they have a scholarship program.
Like, not even bringing up the touchy subject of abortion or anything, just bring up the fact that as two well-rounded individual adults,
but then again, that's calling them well-rounded individual adults.
If they were two well-rounded individual adults...
The operative word is if.
Then they would sit and have a discussion and then act things out rationally like rational adults. But they don't.
Edward, we're going to get that thing out of you. Bella, that thing? And you're choosing now to start getting all butthurt that, he's not considering your feelings. She decides now to be all gung-ho about, pregnancy when
no discussion had taken place prior to that at all.
Right.
At all. There's no discussion about starting a family.
No. They don't even treat it like it... It doesn't even seem like on Bella's part that she's treating it like she's going to have a family. It's just, no, this is... It really is what it is.
It's just, I'm gonna have it, and it's like a possessive kind of a thing.
Right, like, it's a love child, but it's like... It's possessive. It's a thing. It's not a person.
It's both selfish and not selfish. I say that because... She's like, well, I'm going to die so that it can live, but then at the same time, it's something that she can do. It's something that she wants to do for herself because she wants it.
But think about it, that it is very selfish, because you want to say, like, oh, she's being selfless. No, it's not, because she wants to... It's the last act that she has to prove her love. If she dies giving birth to it, she never has to take care of it. Do you ever think about that? She never has to take care of this thing. She just can prove love and death. And she has to do nothing but die.
Well, okay, and let's compare it to, say, a normal woman getting pregnant with a normal baby. Okay, for the most part, granted, there's people who aren't smart enough and are like, yeah, I'll have a welfare baby, whatever. And for the most part, a woman can still kind of make choices for herself and protect the child herself, so long as she doesn't have complications during childbirth or whatever. Nobody necessarily has to take care of the woman real hardcore. A woman can still take care of herself during pregnancy, and afterwards she can still take care of the baby herself. She just has to work a little bit harder. But she is a total burden on everybody around her because of what it does to her, because it grows so rapidly. Well, see, it's making her so sick, she cannot take care of herself.
Even in a normal pregnancy, you got to do stuff like you got to take vitamins, you got to start eating different. I mean, we'll get into that in comparison in a second, but you got to be doing all this stuff, you got to be starting to read books, things like that. She doesn't even try to apply regular human knowledge to this. It's just a thing, like, no, I'm doing it. Sick with her.
So she goes home, like, they go home, it's been a month since their wedding.
Give or take.
And she calls her dad, it's been a month, her dad says on the phone, it's been a month.
You're right.
She calls her dad, she doesn't call her mom, never calls her mom.
You would think she would call the mom. If you get pregnant, usually you call your mom.
She only ever calls the dad to be like, okay, yeah, we're coming home eventually. By the way, Dad, I'm sick. Worries the hell out of her dad.
Right.
And he's like, well, okay, you know what? I could come be with you, or you need to come home. No, I'm cool, Dad. I'm cool. Like, if you're gonna lie, that's a friggin' stupid lie.
No.
Don't say that you're sick. Say, I'm just having such a great time, I don't even want to come home.
But that's saying that Bella can play happy.
That's a good point.
So they go home to the Cullens' house, and she's laid up there, and they're all looking after her, and
Jacob eventually figures out that she's home. I don't know why. They totally willingly invite Jacob in, and Jacob is still the other man who's still totally in love with her, even though she's married and is obviously 9 months pregnant within a month.
Well, 2 months, something like that.
No, by at that point, it's only been a month.
Well, she's not 9 months yet. But we would use this full term. It still goes on for a bit.
Okay,
so
she's in the third trimester.
She's noticeably showing. She is with something which apparently also cannot be detected. They can't tell the sex of it because whatever this hellspawn is, and that's my own choosing to call it hellspawn, the amniotic fluid around it is so thick that a modern ultrasound machine cannot penetrate, therefore they cannot tell what the sex is. Mind you, how does that work for a second? The amniotic fluid is so thick that they can't penetrate, but it's still sucking the life out of her. There's got to be some sort of a give and take there, biologically, for that to occur. Like, there's no... They don't get into, well, maybe it's sucking in nutrients, because you're left to make these assumptions for yourself because nobody actually thought to think this out.
Right.
Because I've seen other sci-fi shows where will give you a little something to be like, okay, you tried to make this legit. No.
So Jacob all wigs out when he figures it out, and then Edward even takes Jacob off to the side, and he's like, alright, I need you to talk to Bella yourself. Why? Because you two have a connection that I don't understand, and I will never have. And I'm like... You're her husband.
Yeah.
Why do you not have that connection with your wife? Why did you get married to her?
Well, because it's that whole you can have your cake and eat it too aspect of Twilight that I absolutely hate.
Because at the same time, like, they keep him around all the time to help out, to help protect her, and then she gets cold at one point, and then he comes up on the couch and, like, snuggles up with her to keep her warm, like he had done in the last movie, too. And she's sitting there all like, everything just feels so perfect with you around. Everything just feels so right when you're here.
Well, you can either take that as one, well, he has a pulse, never mind the fact that he's a werewolf, and two, when is that ever cool? Like, does Jacob ever stop for a second and be like, they're treating me as a pet, as an object at this point?
But no, the way
because it's a convenience thing.
But the way she phrased it was like, man, I am so happy that I have my husband and another man here.
Yeah, that's what it's have your cake and eat it too.
It's disgusting and it's disturbing and it's like...
I do not approve.
And on top of that, who's your core audience? Alright, it's preteens, tweens, teenagers, and their 35 to 45-year-old mothers.
But don't forget the college girls that like reading this stuff. You're out there, I know you are.
But you know it's mostly teenagers who are into the teenage romance, and it's like, I can't...
paranormal romance, that's what they call it now at the bookstore.
I can't identify... Like, you know who your audience is, and why do you think it's okay to give this imagery to this audience? Because it's not. in personal opinion, unless you have to really drive it home that this is fantasy. This is like such fantasy. But the thing is, so many people, it's such a phenomenon that I know for a fact that there have become groups online for women who are getting over the fact that they will never have a man as perfect as Edward. So but people are treating it like...
But what makes him so perfect?
The fact that he has no downside to being a vampire, I guess. And that,
well, yeah, there's a downside. We just presented one. He will give... If you get it on with him with no protection, you give birth to a... That's a pretty big downside.
Yeah, well... So she's becoming more and more sickly as this movie goes on.
Are you sure? Because I couldn't tell the difference. Her facial expression never changed.
So she's getting more pale, and she's getting more bony. And
are you sure? Because I couldn't tell the difference as the movie went on.
And so the werewolves are all like, well, this is going to end up killing the human, and Jacob's all like, well, I'm going to protect her anyway, and they have this inner brain conversation with one another.
Hive mind conversation.
With one another
as wolves.
Really badly CG wolves. Like it's even worse than it was in the previous movies when they appeared. Like, I think that's actually something that many other people, not just me, have said, like they downgraded the quality of their CG wolves. I don't know how you managed to do that.
They blew the budget on going to Brazil. That's my theory.
So they have this really awkward, stupid, hive mind brain conversation, and Jacob's like, well, I'm the grandson of the chief, and this isn't going to happen, and I'm going to go leave the tribe. And so he goes off and he leaves the tribe so that he can protect the Cullens. The Cullens are all doing all this work, and Jacob is probably working the hardest out of anybody, and then a couple other really bad actors come from the tribe.
They tried. I'm not saying that it amounted... They were trying. I will give them as much as...
I don't think that matters in the grand scheme of things.
Well, no, in the grand scheme of things, no, it doesn't end to anything. I'm just saying.
So you got a couple of werewolves helping to protect, because they're like, well, it's going to kill a human, therefore it's going to break the treaty, and that means that we can go and slaughter all the vampires, and Jacob's all, no, you're not going to slaughter them all, because I'm going to protect Bella, because I love Bella so very much.
Since we're on the vampires, now we got to talk about this whole imprinting thing that they bring up, which they never fully develop, I don't think. I mean, it works amongst the... Okay, like...
I'm trying to remember, I think the term imprinting... Well, the term imprinting comes up in one of the last two movies.
Right.
Because another member of the tribe imprinted on somebody else, and when she initially tried to reject him, that particular wolf freaked the hell out and nearly ripped her face off. But then they love each other, so it's okay.
I hurt you because I love you.
Yeah, I hurt you because I love you. So
that's the same message that they get across in...
Imprinting is a really bizarre thing, because it's like a love-at-first-sight thing, except on a genetic, structural level.
Of something?
Of some variety. It's really bizarre, it's really uncomfortable, and
apparently, based off this movie, it can cross species.
It would appear, but I don't even want to get into that part yet, because, you know... We're just not...
But I'm saying it's so loosely defined after a point, because they make it out to seem like, okay, this is just a werewolf thing, and then they throw that straight out the window.
Well, no, it wasn't, because that imprinting situation I was talking about before was a werewolf on a human woman. But then again, I have never... No, there is that one werewolf chick. Well, then what the hell? There's only like one werewolf chick.
That's what I'm saying. And even then, there's only one werewolf chick. Why is she not getting action? No, wait. There were a couple on the beach. They were on the beach. There's like two of them. Two other couples, remember?
Whatever.
Because Jacob's looking at him, he's like, I wish I had somebody. But Bella. Anyway.
Oh, man, no, that brings up an entirely different point that I totally missed.
Which is?
Like... all the sad music and the...
Oh, right. Okay. So, like, the soundtrack for this movie is what, like 2 songs? It's like 2 songs. It's this, whatever song they play at the beginning, and all throughout the honeymoon scene, all throughout pretty much the rest of the movie...
I don't know how to describe it, but
I know how to describe it.
Because I'm sure you can find it on its soundtrack somewhere, but I don't know what the music is. To somebody like me, I would almost compare it to Green Day's "Time of Your Life," except slower and somehow sadder.
No, it's more like that one song from Cruel Colorblind.
I don't know what that song is. All I know is that it's like a bunch of instrumentals.
It's like that.
It's like guitar and some keyboard, not really a whole lot of percussion, and then a really sad, sappy, depressing vocal on top of it.
No, it's like when Bella's considering whether or not she's pregnant. You know, she's there. She's looking in the mirror. She's not sure, and it's there playing in the background like sad music. Sad face. Look at Bella stroking her face, and it's like, what is?
It takes so long. It takes like a minute and a half, 2 minutes for this one particular scene where you're like this close to her, right? And then it slow-mos, and then she slowly turns around.
Sad.
And then you like catch a glimpse of her ear, like you can't even see anything but her ear.
Sad music.
And then her hair, and there's nothing happening.
It's filler. It amounts to filler.
The movie is so padded. There's literally no reason why this movie should be broken into 2 parts because it's so padded.
Well, they did it because Harry Potter did it.
Well, yeah, they want to extend the life of their movie,
right? Of the franchise. Of their
franchise, but.
Well, then, okay, I can't say that because they did that to The Matrix, too, and that's a whole other argument. But, okay, so Bella's at home, right? She's, as far as vampires go, she's eating the Cullens out of house and home because they figure out she needs blood to get to the baby. Because the baby,
Jacob comes up with the idea, well, it's half vampire, maybe it's trying to eat blood. Great idea! Alright, we get the styrofoam cup with a straw, fill it up with blood. Here, Bella.
That's blood.
Color instantly returns to her face.
How does that work?
Instantly. And
how does that work?
She couldn't have had a fifth of the cup, right?
No, she had like 2-3 sips, and then rosy cheeks. It's a Maybelline commercial at this point.
It's awful, and then she's like, tastes good. No, it probably tastes like iron.
It would taste like iron because she hasn't turned. It's not changing her physiology at all. I mean, they even go so far as to say it's not compatible with your physiology. The fetus inside you is not compatible with you. So, no, it does not taste good. You were just saying that. There's no possible way it could taste good.
It
has done nothing to your physiology. You're not turning vampire. You haven't turned vampire. You would be you're drinking. Basically, it is what it is. You're drinking blood out of a bag. There's no flavor to it other than iron.
So then she does eat them out of house and home, and they have no blood left. And the vampires are like, "Well, crap, we eat blood." Shoot. And here's my question, right? Like, Carlisle's a doctor,
right?
Why isn't he just like, hey, hospital up the road?
No.
Yeah, I'm a doctor. Can you ship me more blood because I somehow managed to get packets of blood all the time anyway? Can you give me more blood?
Well, no. See, here's the thing too. Like, that's going on. The Cullens have a computer. Why doesn't he just like have it express delivered? Like, he doesn't even have to call it.
That's another thing. The computer.
Oh, right. Okay,
the first movie, right?
Right, the first
Bella's
movie.
trying to figure out what exactly Edward is, and she does a Google search. Oh, but Edward, he must be like old school because he uses Yahoo to go and search and figure out what this thing she's going to be giving birth to really is.
And they're using the same method. Like, okay, we're just going to search, and whatever pictures come up, that's what it is.
So it's all these pictures of like. They look like chest-burster babies and spawns of Satan sitting on top of a woman's stomach. And
I'm sure at one point they used a screenshot from 2 Girls, 1 Cup. I don't even know. It's meant to look like scary to a vampire.
And then Edward's all freaking out because like he's never heard of this, and he's like, "Man, Yahoo's amazing."
Well, no, that brings up another point, too. Like, okay, like we said, nobody's ever seen this happen before. A vampire and a human woman having a baby. You've got the Volturi, who are old school vampires. Wouldn't they know? Wouldn't you think to ask them, Dear Volturi, my son put his thing in his wife, and now we got this thing growing. Do you know what this is? Okay, thanks. And ask.
I think the only problem with that is that they've already come across trouble with the Volturi, and maybe they kind of already realized that, man, we better not tell the Volturi about this, because later on in the next movie they're going to be like, hey Collins, hey, what's up? We're going to come destroy you now because you just created dead life. So...
Well, it's not, they are dead life. At what point is it's the pot calling the kettle black? You are dead life. You're going to get mad at more dead life?
I don't know. Okay?
How does that even work?
I just don't even know. But, so... Man, what part of the movie are we even on anymore?
It's almost over. It's almost over.
Okay, because I'm like...
I'm running out of steam trying to wrap my mind around this thing. Alright, so, like, they're eating out of house and home. The wolves are getting ready to strike, so...
the whole name thing.
Don't even... you talk about it.
Well, the first thing, she's like, okay, if it's a boy... Which, by the way, oh man, that's another thing. So, like, she thinks the whole movie that the baby is going to be a boy. She's like, oh, I can just tell. Of course it isn't. It's not a boy.
No.
I can just tell it's going to be a boy. And Edward can, like, brain power with the baby. He can, like, read the baby's mind. He can hear the baby's thoughts in plain English. Okay, sure. And he can't tell
that it's a girl.
Whether the baby is a boy or a girl. I don't...
You know it's a girl. But it's the thing... Okay, now here's the thing, too. Traits from the father, traits from the mother. If it's part Bella, shouldn't he have a hard time hearing it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because he can't hear Bella. How is he hearing it?
Well, maybe it's like... Maybe it's a chromosome passed down from the father.
I guess, but
well, not a chromosome, excuse me.
Well, no, because if we're getting into biology...
It's a trait passed down
from the father. But even then, if it's like a dominant trait sort of thing, that would have made it a boy. That probably would have given more... like, if the baby's right there and Edward's listening and he can hear it, he would think it was a boy too. Because if it was anything like the mom, he wouldn't be able to hear it because he can't hear the mom. See, that's what I'm saying. Nobody thought out the biology of this.
So back to what I was trying to talk about a second ago. So she's like, well, if it's a boy, it's going to be named EJ. You know, like Edward and Jacob. And it's like, is Edward okay with this? Did you talk to him about this?
No, it's another case if she didn't consult him. Did she consult Jacob about this? Like, hey, my son's middle name is going to be yours because we're like that?
But no, I think that was just going to be his whole first name, 2 letters.
It's a run-on name?
I think its name is just EJ as its first name.
Well, okay, it's one thing to have initials as a first name, or was that a nickname for Edward Jacob? Or if you're
I think it just has 2 letters as its first name. In which case, maybe it should be pronounced Edge.
Edge.
That would almost be cooler. I'd almost be okay with that.
No, there shouldn't be anything cool in this. There isn't.
Just because there shouldn't be doesn't mean that maybe they should have tried. They should have tried for it not to suck, but they didn't.
They being Stephanie Meyer.
She should have tried for it not to suck, but she didn't.
But you could already say that about the first movie and beyond.
I mean, I'm just wondering. Well, I doubt Edward would be okay with it. Although he's proving consistently, like, hey, here's the other man to come dance with you at our wedding. Hey, here's the other man to come talk to you, some sense into you. Hey, here's the other man to come warm you up at night. Oh, okay, we'll just
wait. Just think of the wording on that. Here's the other man to come warm you at night. What is that saying? I mean, if it even got to that point. I mean, think what the setup with that would be. If Edward was trying to prevent this from happening, even slightly, with trying to say at one point, well, we're just not going to do it again, or we're not going to. At what point? And I'm thinking this in the context of everything they've already set up in the previous stories. At what point would Edward have just said, "Okay, Jacob, go ahead"? Because at what point, Edward obviously can't do that, or he's not willing to. But he seems very willing to get Jacob in on the action.
The only time that actually happened and it made sense
it's all over.
Was in the previous movie where they're up at the top of a mountain, it's freezing cold, and she's the only actual human there, and she's going to die because it's freezing cold, and Jacob's the only one with a pulse, and so he has to warm her or else she's going to die.
But that's the same thing that happens in this movie.
Yeah, but I mean, she could have worn a blanket, but she wasn't wearing a blanket.
No, she's got a wolf blanket named Jacob. So okay, they figure out that okay, the only thing we can do is we got to distract the wolves. We got to make a blood run.
But no, they decide to name the kid Renesmee if it's going to be a girl.
Oh right, you were talking about the names.
Yeah, the names.
Renesmee.
Renee is the name of her mom. Esme is the name of the island where she conceived. They combined it together to make a stupid name so that they can later turn it into a nickname like Ness or Nessie or something, because it's a pun on the Loch Ness Monster or something stupid like that. It's dumb.
It's dumb.
It's a dumb name. It's dumb.
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
Nope, don't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Nope.
Anyway, you go ahead.
Right, so now that they figure out the only way to get more blood, because somehow they can tell Bella's almost to term, I guess with...
No, they're hungry. That's the only reason why they left.
No. They say they're hungry, and Carlisle says she's about ready to give birth any day now. And we're going to need more blood for that, too.
Okay.
Alright, so it's, either way, they're going to need more blood. The only way to do it is to get Jacob to distract the other vampires. I mean, while the vampires are running, distract the other wolves while they're running off in the forest. So they try and do that, and then while that's going on, her back gives out? Or
well, typically, a woman's water is supposed to break. In this situation, it's her spine. So...
And her kneecaps.
And I don't get the kneecaps part.
Well, no, I think what they were trying to show is, me putting it together in my head, is that she is so physically weak that her bones have gotten brittle too, so her back snaps, she falls on her knees give the sound effect that they've broken somehow. She's falling back, her head's about to hit the ground, and that's when Edward catches her.
And then they have to do emergency cesarean, and they're like, okay, we're going to give
emergency vampire cesarean.
Well, they're like, alright, we're going to give her a local... Psst. Nope, can't wait for it to happen. Here comes the knife. Ah!
She didn't scream that
Yes,
loud.
she did. She screamed outrageously loud. It's like... And I know the directors all saying different things about how he wanted to do different things in the movie. Like in the earlier part of the movie, it could have easily become softcore porn, but we tried to avoid that.
No, they avoided it completely.
They tried to avoid it being particularly gruesome
or gory.
I still think it kind of... Maybe it's just because the tone is so different from the others.
It's not even gory, it's just... it's uncomfortable, like the whole movie's uncomfortable, but this is uncomfortable in a different light. Because, it is kind of what you're not seeing, which is more so than we can say for the quote-unquote lovemaking scenes earlier, because it wasn't about what we didn't see. Because there wasn't anything to pad that out, audibly, we didn't hear anything, we didn't hear, or something like that. Here we're hearing scrapes, we're hearing that whole the sound of metal while he's chewing out the baby. Because
that's the thing, first they cut into her, and she's not put under, she's not had the local go completely through her, so she's in the worst pain imaginable, but it's not coming out fast enough, so Edward's like, I gotta get it out of there, and then gnaws on through to get it out. It comes out, no placenta, no umbilical cord or anything, just covered in applesauce, and
applesauce.
Strawberry applesauce.
Applesauce. It looks like strawberry applesauce.
And he's like, well, guess what? Her name's Renesmee. Oh, yeah.
Bella? And then it's at that point, the vampires are like, no, screw this, we're going at it. And they're fighting outside. And Edward's like, no, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. Should I wake up, wake up? And he's so... I didn't even want to say he was distraught. He just looks so, out of it. And I guess it's because, Bella's supposedly dying right there on the operating table, but even then, it didn't even come across as him being numb. It just came across as like, what?
Well, and then I'm so confused because he's like, well, I gotta turn her now, and it's like, no, she's
the
already...
syringe.
So he gets, and the syringe is huge. It's like...
It's like
a tube. It's like
oversized prop syringe.
It's like a turkey baster.
It's pretty much a turkey baster size.
It's like a turkey baster.
It was about that big. And the needle was about that big. The tube was about the size of a Pringles can.
And they're like, what is that? It's my venom.
So, hold it. Let's stop for a second. Let's think about that. That means they had to milk
I'm wondering, when did
Edward.
he decide it was necessary for him to, like, have this much of his venom on reserve?
In a Pringles can.
When did he decide to do... And yeah, is it like milking a snake for its venom to make anti-venom? Does he, like, open his mouth and go...
And how long did he have, like... Is it like a regular, like snake? Because I've seen those shows on the... Is it a drip, or is it like milk?
Is it the saliva? What is it? Does all he have to do is, like, spit into a cup? How do you...
Is it spit? Is it... I don't know what it is.
Because...
And let's call it what it is. It's kind of like the color ejaculate. It looks like ejaculate.
I don't know about that.
It was kind of a pearlescent white.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of yellow.
Same basic color. It was a pearlescent off-white.
I don't even.
I know you don't want to remember. It's kind of gross. Watch it for yourself. Don't watch it for yourself. So that's going on. He's biting her. He's pretty much given up. They go outside. There's the bad fight with CG wolves, where nobody actually really gets entirely hurt.
Jacob is all distraught because Bella's dead, and he's like, "Oh, you did this to her." And before wolves versus vampires can really come to a big close, Jacob's like, "Well, I gotta go kill Edward." Like, that was part of the deal. Like,
no. It's not that he's gonna kill Edward. He's gonna kill the baby because he said he was gonna do it.
And he said he was going to tear Edward a new one, too.
Yeah, but he says early in the movie when they have that whole CG talk that if it comes down to that, I'll kill the baby. So he's ready to go do that. And then he goes sneaking up on the baby, and then the baby's all like...
And then CG, really stupid-looking baby, like, has a twinkle in...
Dun, dun, dun. It was kind of the look with different music.
And then comes another montage of the future... of this baby turning into a beautiful adult woman, and, like, there's the whole imprinting thing going on. And
we're led to believe that this is the imprinting. This is what imprinting looks like when it happens.
It's the thing that it looks like love at first sight, except it's on some structural DNA molecular level.
With a baby.
And I know you were arguing that it's like, oh, but it's a magical vampire Twilight baby. But it's still a baby.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's still just fresh out of the womb.
Exactly.
And if you want to... How quickly does... I want to say it grows up in, like, 7 years. That still makes it only, like, 1 right now at the most.
Well, like...
Not even 1. Like, it's still an underage thing.
For whatever reason, it's already got some sort of a... intelligence. We're given that much because Edward supposedly can read its thoughts. But even then... Like, what's the statute of limitations on magical Twilight Hellspawn baby girls? Like, what is the legal... I don't even know if you can bring in legal or moral implications on that, but where is this okay?
And then does he just, like, forget Bella at that moment in time? Like, she never...
Well, it's not that he forgot Bella, it's like he thinks she's dead. So he's got to move on. So he goes outside...
And then he goes inside, and then he comes back outside, and he's moved on.
Well, no, he whatever this thing is, I don't... And see, this is the thing I'm wondering about. Is this really imprinting we saw, or is this the effect of magical Twilight love baby?
Well, that's apparently imprinting, because then everybody's outside, including Edward, and I don't really know exactly how Edward knew. I'm assuming he just read Jacob's mind when this whole thing went down. But then he's like, no, Jacob just imprinted. You can't harm the baby because it's the highest law of the wolves. And then the wolves are like, okay, and they just leave. They don't stop and think, hey, is he telling the truth?
Well, no, you would think the wolves would be able to tell because it's their thing.
but they couldn't tell.
Well, like, here's the thing, like, comparing Imprinting in the last movie to this one, does it even look the same? Visually.
They didn't ever show the process of imprinting prior to
Exactly, which is why I'm saying, is this really what Imprinting is, or is this Imprinting plus Magical Twilight Baby?
I just don't even know. Or
It's so ill-defined.
Since Jacob has never imprinted before, is he even sure that that's what it was
exactly. How can Jacob tell if he's never imprinted before? How can Bella and Edward tell that it was sex if they never had sex before? Well, obviously it was something, because here's Magical Twilight Baby.
Just freaking... Oh my god, so... That's basically coming up to the end of the movie where finally, like...
The last 2 minutes, which is nothing but saying, oh wait, guess what? Bella's not dead.
Like, no, can you hear her heartbeat? Like, she still had a heartbeat?
Well, see, that goes back to the whole, how do you define a vampire in Twilight? Do they have heartbeats? Does any vampire anywhere have a heartbeat? I mean, if there's a way to define it...
In the book, no. Bella has put her ear against his head, or against his chest.
Right.
Her ear against his chest, and there's
no
nothing.
sound. So, how does that work here? Does that mean her heart's going to slow down? How do they know it's working, other than visually seeing, like, the bite marks start to slowly go away?
It's just that she died. She just quit living. So her heart shouldn't have been beating.
Right.
Why did she still have a heartbeat? And then you watch the process of, like, if this was her spine, her shattered spine, then it kind of goes... and then snaps back together.
Right.
You see brain functionality start to...
It's basically the same thing that it looks like in Spider-Man after the Spider-Venom starts taking effect, that same sort of thing.
You see her kind of reconstruct from the inside out. Her lazy, flat hair suddenly becomes big and shiny and lots of volume. And
herbal essences.
And they dressed her real nice. And then she opens her eyes, and her eyes are red. And the movie ends.
And that's the credits.
But it doesn't really end, because there's still another scene after that in the middle of the credits. And it's like...
Oh, with the Volturi.
And this woman comes along, and she brings them a card. And I guess it's a card announcing, guess what, we had a baby. And they're like, oh, it's from Carlisle. Carlisle with an S. And it's like, who wrote it if they misspelled the name Carlisle?
I don't know.
Because, like, did Carlisle himself not send out the guess what? We just had a bouncing baby girl.
I don't know.
Who sent that thing?
If anything, and I know nothing about what happens next other than the basics, I'm led to believe, under those, when you phrase it like that maybe it was one of the wolves that sent them a handwritten note like, hey, check this out, trying to get them in trouble.
I don't know, it looked like a pretty official, guess what, we had.
Hey, wolves can go buy stationery from Michael's too.
They don't look like they ever go anywhere. They live on a Native American reserve.
So they can turn into werewolves, run into the next town, find a Michael's, find some stationery, print it out, misspell Carlisle, and send it to the Volturi.
And the Volturi who are like, yes, what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to pay them a visit. And they're just supremely fruity. And like...
And he's like, oh, they have something I want. Which makes you wonder, what does he want with the baby?
Well, I can tell you what they want with the baby.
I don't want to know. I don't really want to know what he wants with the baby.
Well, I'm going to tell you what they want with the baby.
La 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 la.
So it's the idea that this baby is a vampire who had no control over being a vampire, and that goes against Volturi vampire laws. You can't turn a kid into a vampire. So that's where the next movie is going, apparently. But just like... Man.
Oh yeah, so that was the end of the movie, but like... I personally had such a sour taste in my mouth afterwards, like... Man, that was...
But it's like... she never called her own dad. She always called her dad, but never her mom, because she called her dad a second time in the middle of it.
Right.
Saying, "Oh, well, I'm totally feeling better, but I'm gonna go to a different country for a while and go visit a hospital there. Oh, let's freak out Dad even more, why don't we?" And never once does she talk to her mom.
Well, even in that first book, she's never good at making up an excuse.
No.
So this is just more evidence of that.
And again, I still feel like the movie just kind of fails as a movie based on the presentation of said material, because it's like 45 minutes before the actual conflict of the movie even shows up, and there's so much not actually happening, and then there's all this slow-mo and this montage of stupid stuff we don't care about, and this really bad emo
sad music.
This really awful music. It's the worst. It's just about the worst padding I've ever seen in a movie. And it's just disgusting. It's a disgusting display of a movie that already had disgusting material in it. And
right.
Gosh, I don't even think there's anything else I care to elaborate on. It's just...
No, I don't even think... Well, okay, I can probably phrase it that way, since the second one's supposed to focus on magical Twilight baby growing up and being preteen to adult magical Twilight baby. The second one will look better to people in comparison, because...
There should be very little left disgusting and disturbing.
Well, not even that. There can be artistic license taken, if only for the fact that they handled most of the story already. So the director or the writers can do whatever they want.
What story is even left anymore? The Volturi have to come along and be like, hey, that baby's not allowed. Right. And then they handle it. Okay.
Well, supposedly it's nothing more than a conversation that stops it.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. We'll leave you to your vampire family then. And I think the only thing I'm curious about, since I haven't read up on it and I haven't read the book, is like...
Other than a synopsis.
How do you tell your family that, A, you're not gonna die for a while, and B, you had a baby? You can't show your family your baby, because your baby grows up at 80 bajillion times the normal rate of a human baby.
Well, at that point, it's like... Magical Twilight baby, like... You could get away with lying that the baby doesn't exist. You could play that off real easy.
I suppose that's true.
Because every time the child grows up, if it's growing up that fast over 7 years, like let's say it's growing at a rate of anywhere between 2 to 3 years a year, you can just play it off as some other kid every year. And you can get away with that if you were trying to do that. And I'm like, would Bella even tell her folks, since she tells them so little anyway? They don't know the Cullens are vampires.
Dad's the only one who even slightly has a clue that there's something wrong with the family. And he doesn't actually ask. So... something wrong with those people.
They're not real.
That's the first thing wrong with them.
Yeah.
I think I'm done.
I'm done.
Alright. Well... that went on for entirely too long.
The movie or this?
Okay. Thank you for listening. Because, I know Spoonie himself went on for an hour and a half. And the poor man getting himself all drunk on camera. He knows exactly what he did. Doug Walker himself went on a pretty long tirade for...
At least half an hour.
If an hour, no, 35 minutes.
Yeah, half an hour.
Yeah, half an hour. Like, I just remember, like, the only other thing I want to tack on is I remember filming in Reno when we were doing our footage for Kick-Assia, and Spoonie and I were sitting around at a table talking about Twilight, and we were talking with a bunch of other people. And we're like, no man, we can't wait for this last movie to come out so that everybody can see, because this thing is just so radically different for all the other... They have to make this movie. And they did. And
they have. And now it's the 5th biggest opening ever.
And now I kind of regret saying what I said like a year and a half ago, that they have to make this movie. So that's it. So thank you for listening, and... guess we'll do this again next year.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks.